We're a ticketing service, but when you think of ticketing Wembley Stadium, or you think of ticketing the O2 Arena. Well, that's really just one small part of the market, the highest end. We're bringing ticketing to the other 99% of the market, and we're doing that through great technology, through great service, and really democratizing ticketing for a wider audience. Well, I like disrupting big markets. I like markets where there's a lot of opportunity, but the customers aren't well served. And this in this area of ticketing is particularly one of those. My previous company is a company called Zoom. We're an international money transfer company. I founded that back in the early part of last decade, and that business was really after Western Union, a large player that charges high fees to immigrants to send money back to their families. It's a transactional business. Eventbrite is a transactional business, and we're moving into the ticketing space and really trying to shake things up. There is no typical Eventbrite customer. That's the beauty of the model. If you harken back many years back to the early days of eBay, it was always amazing to think that on the one hand somebody would be selling some collectible coin or stamp, and on the other hand a jet airplane. And we see that same diversity on Eventbrite. On the one hand, somebody could be holding yoga workshops, and on the other hand, just a few weeks ago in New York Central Park, we ticketed a show for the Black Eyed Peas with tens of thousands of people attending. So it's that broad range and diversity that really breaks us out of the mold of what people consider as traditional ticketing. A lot of it has to do with really the new infrastructure and design and product out there. We really think a lot about scale, and this is really a lesson for all startups: is how can you do more with less? How can you do more with lower headcount? How can you utilize services, open source software, and others to be able to build a platform and do it in a way that is that's non-traditional, or doesn't require say, antiquated architecture of the past. For example, the cloud-based hosting services, Amazon Web Services, we run on Amazon Web Services. And instead of paying extremely large amounts for bandwidth that's to be underutilized, when we know that there's going to be a large on sale of tickets or that traffic is picking up, we're able to then expand, in a cloud-based service to achieve that capacity and withdraw if it's, say, a holiday or so on. And this brings us some great cost efficiencies. At a snail's pace, it seems. We're working really hard, but you always want to grow fast, and you have that sense of urgency to make things happen. But you have your resources constrained, and you always hope to that the business is going to take off on day one, but it rarely happens. That all the old saying is, this was an overnight success that was 10 years in the making, and that's really the case. We had to modify, change, enhance, build. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get the business running, and it's that perseverance that is critically important, especially at those times when you're an individual entrepreneur with a few founders, and have your doubts or uncertainties at times. It's that perseverance that's critical. Recently in the spring raised $50 million from Tiger Global, and Tiger has a fantastic global view of the world. They have a view that many of us inside of Silicon Valley tend to be shielded from what's happening outside, and really innovation, change, the impact of e-commerce, of communication is no longer just solely confined to that area between San Francisco and San Jose, California. You see it here in London and the broader UK. You see it in China. You see it really all around the world. We're really spreading our wings and moving into this global economy. The vast majority of our business is currently within the United States, but what we saw was really fantastic organic growth happening in the UK, and in fact, London is one of Eventbrite's top cities and fastest growing cities in terms of events and tickets sold. So we're really leaning into the success we're seeing there, following that path, and building out an office here, providing great service and support here, localizing the product, and we plan to continue that across the continent and around the globe. So a lot of this money will be spent on our international expansion plans. A trade-off between dilution and ownership, and it's important to really know who your investors are going to be, and who your partners, that they're really going to be partners with you. When you take investment, you do take dilution, but you do so because you can increase the size of the pie overall, and don't want to overcompensate in preventing dilution. It can sometimes come at the expense of building a great company. We've been in the fortunate position of being the masters of our own destiny. We were able to solicit capital when we didn't need to, and that's a very important thing, a very important tactic to take is really to be in the position to have venture capitalists approach you. So how do you build and position your business that investors are ready to write a check, versus you're going to be spending your time out pitching around Sand Hill Road or whatever the equivalent here is in the UK. Concern of operating in a business in the red is something that should never be taken lightly. The business needs to be done in a calculated manner. We've raised this almost 80 million in capital. We still have 65 million in capital in the bank today, and what that means is we have a very nice cushion to invest aggressively, but also if our worst fears are realized with the global economic meltdown or something drastically changes in our business, we can slow our spending and have the balance sheet to weather any storms, and that's really how we've managed this cash situation. In a startup is to over-optimize on IQ and not look at other factors of team chemistry. We, with a lot of the help of Julia, my co-founder, and also happens to be my wife, really stepped back and said, let's build a company, let's find with some fantastically bright people, but also people that have the chemistry and the attitude to work together through those very difficult as well as good times and bad, and that's made quite a difference. When you walk into the Eventbrite offices, we've chosen an open seating plan. It's one large 30,000 square foot warehouse, and we have plasma or flat screen monitors throughout the building that show our latest stats. We want to be very transparent with the company, with all the employees. We want to keep the organization flat. The openness of the space really lends itself to collaboration, so you'll see customer service speaking with the engineering team or the marketing team over with the finance team. All this to encourage collaboration, cooperation, and really build a special environment that people want to come to work and want to win and be a part of something great.